Welcome to Soul Nectar, a podcast for women who lead by frequency, embodiment, and soul essence. It's a portal into a new paradigm of feminine leadership, a return to your natural state of being as a woman, rooted in feminine essence, embodied wisdom, and inner wholeness. Here, your soul is nourished by transmissions that drip with sweetness, the honey of your own inner knowing. Each episode is nectar, soft, sensual, soul-led.
Your feminine wisdom that reminds us of our infinity, our divinity.
Welcome back to the Soul Nectar podcast, a place for feminine leaders birthing the new earth. Today I want to share more about the topic of feminine magnetism with a real life experience that I co-created today, and then diving into deeper layers of how this relates to you, and ending with an embodied exploration within yourself of where you might have dimmed your magnetism to make other people feel more comfortable or safe. So I live in Mexico right now, and this morning I went outside to get coffee. And for the first time I was wearing my rose nectar jumpsuit. It's a creation that I channeled in Bali. It's made of dusty rose silk. It has long sleeves, cutouts on the sides. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can see in the banner how it looks like, and it's a really beautiful creation. But it always takes a few weeks or months for me to wear the pieces, even after channeling and creating them and holding them in my hands, to actually wear them on my body, to feel what the activation and coding behind it really is. So usually I don't offer them to the public until I really know what its activation is. And I got a glimpse of this today that I'm going to share with you. So as I step outside in this jumpsuit, going to get coffee, there was a man standing outside on the same floor as me. And as I walked towards him, he started talking to me and asked who I am, what I'm doing. And we started talking about jewelry because he happened to be a jewelry designer as well. So we were talking about jewelry and clothes. He also makes clothes. And it was a really natural conversation. After a few minutes, a woman came out of the same apartment he was standing in front of with a towel. So it was obvious to me that they were whatever, lovers, boyfriend and girlfriend, was none of my business. But we continued the conversation, and then I left, and I didn't think anything about it. And I just felt really beautiful in my jumpsuit, and I, for the first time in 3 years, felt like I'm stepping back into my radiance, into my magnetism, and I feel really safe in it. I was like, ooh, this feels amazing. I noticed people noticing me again, because for the last 3 years I felt so invisible. I was in such a deep inner journey and transformation and spent so much time in the void that sometimes I felt like people don't even see me or recognize me, and I really needed to learn to source myself from within, from myself, from the divine, to not look for anything outside anymore. Not for love, not for approval, validation. I really, really needed to learn to source myself from within. And without even trying, I feel my magnetism is really coming back online. And magnetism always comes with resonance and resistance. It's like a magnet that has both sides, where you naturally call things, people, situations in that are in resonance, and also repel if it shines a shadow on people who haven't allowed themselves to be naturally magnetic right now. So when I came back from having my coffee, which is my absolute favorite ritual, to have this incredible, amazing cappuccino. It's such a pleasure ritual for me to have, nice foam and really good coffee, and just having the ritual of this every day here. And I came back home and I was preparing for a call for a program that I'm joining at the moment. And the woman from before knocked on my door and she said something along the lines of, from woman to woman, you should be more respectful. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I stepped fully outside so I could face her. And I could feel her projection. I could feel her attack almost, because I'm super sensitive and I feel things in my body very vividly. And projections often feel like poison arrows to me. So I noticed the vibration of projection very fast. And when she kept on talking, I was like, interesting, what do you mean by being disrespectful? And how would it look like for you if I was more respectful in your world? And she said, well, you talked to the man that I was seeing that obviously spent the night with me. And I was like, okay, I get that. First of all, he started talking to me. I know it's a natural thing for women to first attack the woman, but also, I want you to know I didn't start talking to him, and it was a non-flirtatious, natural conversation. And she was like, no, it was very flirty. And please, next time, just don't talk to my man. And I was like, I cannot promise you that. And she was like, what? And I was like, you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like you came outside, you were triggered in that your man is talking to a beautiful woman, you felt maybe insecure or jealous, and you're fully projecting that onto me. I feel very projected on, and there's no vulnerability from your side, there's no accountability, there's just finger pointing of, you have to stop talking to my man. And I won't do this. I used to do this in the past, but I will not dim my radiance to make you feel more comfortable. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, that's my truth. Like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I used to do this my whole life. I'm not gonna dim myself so you can feel more comfortable. And she's like, just imagine your man would do this and you came outside and you witnessed this. And I was like, okay, let's go into this very, practically. If I imagine my man talking to another woman and I would feel jealous or insecure, I wouldn't run to the woman and say, stop talking to my man. I would look inside and see it as an invitation to see how I co-created this. And then she's like, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of that, but she didn't even go into vulnerability. She really stayed in the projection. So I still want you to be respectful and not talk to my man. And I was like, I'm not gonna promise you that, because I'm just being me. I don't have anything to defend. I didn't flirt. I was just being me. And if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm not gonna do it different, because there's nothing that I did wrong. I was just being me and having a normal human conversation, and you interpreted it as flirting, and that's your story. But I just need to stand in my truth right now. And then she left and I went inside to have the call, and I felt my whole throat contracting and moving, the muscles in the lower part of my throat on the right side. And if you've been following me for a while, you might remember that 2.5 years ago, when I was also living in Mexico, I had this gigantic cyst growing on my throat to the size of a baby head. It was 6.5 centimeters. And first I thought it's a lymph node, and then it started growing and growing, and I tried everything natural, and everyone was saying something different, and nothing was helping. Every day I woke up and this cyst was just doubling in size. It was growing so rapidly. And I was so afraid of seeing a doctor. But at some point, I called a doctor to come to me, and he looked at my cyst and he said, "Oh, that's a tumor. You're going to need surgery, but it's not sure you're going to survive that surgery because it's attached to all the main arteries and your blood flow and all the things." And all I heard him say, it's like time froze. And I just looked in his eyes and heard his lips move, saying, "You're gonna die." And he left, and I just went into a puddle on the floor, fell on my knees, and I had to surrender to the fact that I might die, which is a completely different experience, to have the human experience of dying than if you've done ceremonies or if you had death experiences. I always thought I'm not afraid of dying, but this was like the deepest initiation of my life. And it was in that time that I discovered a lot of shadow aspects in my lineage, a lot of hidden secrets that every lineage has, that people just tend to rush it under the rug and pretend it's not there. But I knew I had to dive deep into this, and I was working with 4 women supporting me in this, 2 somatic practitioners and 1 energetic and 1 other healer, because I knew this was deep, and it was very, very deep. So while I was discovering these secrets, I also met a lot of pain and silenced truth in that. And my cyst was like a physical representation of the suppressed truth that I wasn't speaking, and also the truth that wasn't spoken in my lineage. So it just needed an outlet. And I'm just realizing the connection to that now that I step fully into who I am. It requires me to speak my truth. If I don't speak it, my scar is, I can feel my scar. I can feel my throat activating. And I also made a promise to myself to not abandon myself ever again. So even if it makes other people uncomfortable, it's just who I have become, that I speak my truth for me, independently of how it's being perceived. And that led to a lot of confusion in the last few years. Because I feel it's also the pendulum swings to the opposite side first, where it can almost be a bit harsh of speaking the truth, or from removing myself from situation that didn't feel nourishing to me. It's like an extreme from tolerating everything, absorbing everything, not speaking my truth in any moment, to always speaking my truth and always following my yes and my body. And then I feel like I'm slowly coming to a healthier, balanced, where I can stay grounded and not as activated, and really speak my truth from my center and what is true for me. I don't believe there's the truth. We all have our own truth. But I feel it's such an important journey to honor that, whatever's moving and true for us in the moment. And it just brought me back to all these moments in my life where I was projected on and almost punished for my radiance that goes way beyond this lifetime. When I was in Glastonbury this summer, I was at the Red Chalice, and I had this memory drop in of being in a 3 constellation with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And my second name is Magdalena. So my soul chose this name and this path to heal what I brought from past lifetimes. And I don't know the details of what happened in the 3 constellation, but it just made me see all the ways in my life where there was a 3 constellation. And it goes back to my childhood and to my teenage years, when when I just started, maybe I was 12 years old or something. I went to Croatia with my grandparents, and I brought a friend, and we were just hanging out and meeting people and talking. And I met this guy that I had met many years before, because my grandparents and his parents were always coming to the same camping spot. So we were there and we hugged each other. And then a woman he was dating saw us hugging, and she came towards me and attacked me verbally and said, I better stay away from her man, and I'm not allowed to talk to him anymore, and threatened me basically to bring her girlfriends and like slap me or something. And even then, I remember feeling like, what the fuck? I didn't do anything wrong. She basically accused me of being a slut for just being me. I was just talking. I was just being me. But my body, my nervous system remembered the threat of feeling so unsafe in my radiance that for a very long time I started to dim it. Not mentally, not consciously, but subconsciously, because my nervous system and my body had this imprint of not feeling safe to be in my full radiance. And then there's a few examples I want to name, so you can, when I share examples and real life stories, I'm sharing them so you can reflect on your life and relate to it better, that you have something tangible that you see where maybe something similar happened to you, or maybe where you've been on the other side, because this is all about the sisterhood wound that we are here to truly heal in this new paradigm of feminine leadership. We need each other. We need each other shoulder to shoulder, and that requires to have uncomfortable conversations and to sit down and look each other in the eye and to share from vulnerability. For me, vulnerability is the number one leading factor in this new paradigm. That we let ourselves be seen and stay with us and our emotions, our body, to not point the finger, to not project, to really let ourselves be seen and to be surprised in how you're received from others when you are vulnerable, even if it wasn't safe in the past. It continued in my teenage years when I was maybe 14. I was invited to a house party, and I grew up in a very small town, and my energy was always very big. I was naturally radiant. I was naturally good with men, just on a friend basis. I was still a virgin. I was, just being me. But for some reason, and it's all obviously an orchestration, and I'm not seeing myself as a victim to all these women, but it left an imprint that I'm now breaking free from. So everything I share, I never share it to say, oh, look at me, poor thing, all these mean women. It's really from a place of, this happened for a reason, so I could remember the truth behind the distortions and behind the things that happened to me, and to calibrate my nervous system back to truth rather than staying in that imprint. And that sometimes requires to get uncomfortable and to meet the edge of the nervous system rather than always down-regulating. So I was at this house party, and there were a couple of women, maybe 5 women, that were really against me. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just naturally friends with some of the men in their friend group. So I heard everything. They told me everything. They met in the town's cafeteria and basically talked bad about me all day, and that I'm such a slut and I sleep with all these men, and I was still a virgin, and it was so confusing. And I was just like, don't they have anything better to do than talk about me all day? Like, I almost felt sad for them that they needed to talk about me all day. But of course it was also very painful to hear that my innocence and my natural radiance is like so misinterpreted. But I was still confident. I was still not taking it too personal. And then on the house party, one of the women, she was like, Hirsch, which is my last name. She's like, come with me. And she dragged me outside in the garden of the house where everyone was in the garden and we were behind the fence. And she just took her arm and punched me in the face. And it wasn't painful. It almost rarely touched me. And she pulled back her sleeves. I remember it so vividly. She pulled back her sleeves and she punched me, and she went back inside. And she's like, oh, I punched the Hirsch in the face. And everyone was applauding. And I was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, this is so weird and random. I didn't fully understand it, but my nervous system still carried that imprint of threat in it. And from that, it just continued. When I was an au pair in Australia, the mother projected so much onto me and started screaming at me and manipulated her kids against me. And yeah, it was really wild. And I never understood why. Like, why do women project onto me so much? And it's always a co-creation. And I feel we are really being initiated into holding this much light in our human vessel, that it naturally reveals shadow in other people. And there's only two options and you notice from yourself as well, I notice from myself, if someone shines a light on my shadow, something that's uncomfortable, the easy way out, the lower hanging fruit, is to just say, you did this, you are wrong, don't talk to my man. Instead of saying, ooh, this is uncomfortable, but I see it as an invitation to look within myself why I'm feeling this way. First of all, naming how I'm feeling instead of pointing the finger, which is much harder to do and much more uncomfortable. And then being really honest. And I could name so many scenarios of where this happened and how it showed up, and it continued and continued, and I always felt so misunderstood, but I never had the courage to speak up, and that was the problem. It accumulated in my throat. I always just went silent or, didn't say anything. And that energy was stored in my throat, and that's what needed an outlet when I had the cyst growing. And through that surgery, which thankfully the diagnosis of the doctor was wrong, and it was just a cyst that grew immensely and nobody knew why. No doctor could tell me why this was happening. But I also didn't need an explanation because it was so somatically. My body was just speaking for me and showing me like, you cannot swallow your truth anymore. And I feel we're all really invited to step into our power, our sovereignty, our natural expression. And it doesn't mean to spit fire and to scream it from the rooftop, but to groundedly, really honestly share your heart with the world. And obviously there's discernment needed as well. If people don't meet you at that level, or they put your vulnerability against you, it's not the people you should show up like this. For this you have the discernment that you learn over the years, where your body tells you where your vulnerability is an invitation to deepen with a person who can meet you, or it's also a invitation to speak your truth, but to also protect your energy. And you don't always have to share your full heart with everyone, but it's important that we speak our truth. And it's so interesting to me that magnetism and radiance and beauty can be a threat in this society. And it makes so much sense if you look in the state of the planet. But what we're here to birth is to radiate from our inner beauty outward by being ourselves, by being authentic, by being true to who we are, not the conditioned version, but who we really are. And I feel I've come back home to that more and more. It's a lifelong journey, but the more I speak my truth, the more true I am to myself, and the more I can feel safe in my nervous system to be that radiant. And I even had it on the dance floor, in ecstatic dance or even normal dancing, that I always felt this memory in my body of like, is it too much? Am I intimidating someone? Is this too sensual, too radiant? And I had friends reflecting that back, because I had that fear of like, I understand why women are intimidated by you. When I watch you dance, it's a lot of Shakti, it's a lot of life force, and not in a leaky way, but just energy that moves through me. It's an expression of my soul, of my light, of my love. And it's funny because I've met the most magical women in these moments where I let myself be seen. And I had these glimpses where my soul just takes over and I'm fully immersed dancing. And whenever I hold back it's when I get the reflection of, I get when you're intimidated. And that just fed this belief that, oh my God, if my watered down version already intimidates women, what happens if I'm fully myself? Like, it shakes the planet. And it does. And that's I feel the art that we get to learn on this journey is to be ourselves fully and to learn to not take these projections on or to take them personally, to allow them to dim our magic, but to stay in our truth, stay in our radiance, and to feel safe in that. And there's so many layers to this. Even if you look at the safety on the planet with women, there's so much rape, there's so much, taken advantage of blaming women for, oh yeah, she got raped because she was wearing a short skirt. That's not true. There's so much distortion, and I had to work through these fears so much through my body, through the collective, of coming home to safety in my body, in my radiance. And it was not a smooth journey. I had a man breaking into my bungalow in Moorea and seeing him with a black mask hiding underneath my bungalow, and the police didn't do anything. They were just laughing at me, and the policeman even sent me a flirty message on Facebook, like completely inappropriate, a complete kinky manifestation I had. Like, I always believe we co-create these experiences, so we also don't outsource the safety, or the police should be my safe place. In Moorea, this was not true. And I learned to really come home through facing these fears to myself and to my safety in my body, in my nervous system, in my sensuality, in my radiance. So I don't outsource that anymore. And that's where I want to dive a little bit deeper into the layers so you can feel that for yourself as well. Because, like I shared, radiance awakens resonance and resistance. Your light will always inspire some and trigger others. But it's not your burden, and that's the beauty of this. And I really want you to take this home from this episode, that you have to be able to hold the duality that your magnetism and your light holds. And the more you walk this journey, the more density you purge from your body, the more light enters your being, the more shadow you reveal. It's not going to get lighter from here, but we need you to be in your power, in your light, to be able to fulfill the mission your soul came here to be and to embody. And you can only embody it if you calibrate your nervous system to that state of being, of feeling safe in who you truly are. And part of your mission is even to activate others. Because if I continue to dim my light and my voice to make others feel more comfortable. For example, this morning, if I would have just said, oh, I'm so sorry you feel this way. Of course, I will never talk to any man you bring home. Never, ever. I just make sure you feel so safe and so, that's what I'm going to do. She would have felt amazing. But I would have taken away from her the invitation that this whole co-creation was about, for her to look at her part as well. I would have just cut that soul invitation for growth off. So I would have actually been selfish by keeping the peace, and for me to completely abandon myself, but to stay in harmony, which is also sometimes the reason why we don't express our truth, especially in relationships, to lose the love, to lose the harmony. But you don't do the soul a favor, and you don't do yourself a favor. So that's also a lens to look at this. You don't want people to have no growth because you're afraid to speak your truth. So please keep that in mind next time you're invited to speak your truth. And then the second thing I want to dive into shortly is that your body holds the wounds until the moment you break the pattern. Perfect example of what happened today. And maybe it's your neck, your jaw, your chest. Your body speaks with you. You have this incredible technology. Like, honestly, the human body, it's mind-blowing to me. We are aliens and we don't even realize it. Like, the divine created your vessel. You're here by divine design. There's a reason you're here, even if you feel like you don't belong. The reason you're here proves you belong. God doesn't make mistakes. The universe created you so you can remember who you are and embody your mission and embody your soul and become the woman you came here to be. And your body speaks so loud. Not a single health issue is not created by you. It's always an invitation to grow, to see what's in the shadow, what's in the subconscious. And of course, it's easier to take pills or to swallow things, but you don't want to wait until your body screams. And that's the beauty when you work with your body, when you really drop from your mind into your body and you're grounded in your being and you feel your body. And you have this nervous system that I always see like this magical tree that roots you down and connects you to above, like the roots and the branches of a tree. And it goes beyond your physical body energetically. Through your field, you can even sense things that happened in past lifetimes. Your body remembers. You can sense things that are 10 kilometers away on the other side of the planet. We are all connected through that field, and your nervous system is such a magical tool if you learn to work with it instead of against it. And I really, really invite you to see your body as your team guide. Like you're meant to use your body, to be so grateful of your body, and even if it shows you something, to not punish it or to numb it or to want to get rid of it, but to look beyond, a layer deeper. Why is this showing up? What does my body need? And it's the most intelligent technology no AI could ever create. So we have to use it for this mission. We are the bridge. Our nervous system is the bridge between heaven and earth. And we need both. We cannot just hover in the ethers because then our mission is not embodied. We need the body, we need the nervous system to really anchor in our codes on this planet. And it's really we lead through embodiment and frequency. Number 3, your magnetism isn't performance. Your magnetism is the result of a woman whose inner field is satisfied from within. And that's so important. You cannot put a cream and a makeup on your face and even if you wear my jewelry or my clothes, it doesn't make you magnetic. It can activate you, it can amplify your radiance, but it always comes from within. And the most magical part to amplify your radiance, that your field gets bigger, that your true magnetism comes online, is first of all to be really connected to your body, to your truth. To speak your truth is one way to amplify your magnetism, but also to follow your inner yeses, not the ones that give you validation from outside, not the ones that prove you're magnetic, but the ones that you follow your excitement, your passion, your inner yes. And that fuels you with the divine light because you don't outsource your validation. And then everything from outside, we talked about this in the human design call and from Alpha Femme I'm in right now. And Amy and Melanie said that so beautifully, that it's a mirror when someone says, wow, you're so radiant. And you can just say thank you. Because it's nothing you source from outside. It's from within, and it's just a mirror reflection of how you already feel. It's not hoping for breadcrumbs that someone else will validate or love you. It's like you're so full by following the inner yeses, not the yes that your parents approve to, not the yes that look good on Instagram, but the yes that fills your soul with aliveness and juice and pleasure and turn on and awe for this existence, the awe of creation of this planet. The next thing is the sisterhood wounds. They run so deep, so deep. And I truly see us in this new paradigm, shoulder to shoulder. There's no hierarchy. But it's one thing they took away from us in this paradigm we're living in, and that's crumbling right now, to put women against each other, to shut down our remembrance of how powerful we are, that we can use our wombs, our bodies, to create life and magic, that we can birth a new paradigm through a clear vessel, a clear womb. So once you heal your ancestral patterns, your pain, and your field becomes clear, you can birth everything you create has a new frequency that ripples in the unseen on so many levels. And of course, that's a threat to the paradigm that is ruled on control and suppression. And if we unite as women, instead of blaming the woman to not talk to your man, to see her as a sister and to meet her on eye level and have a vulnerable heart-to-heart conversation, will change the world. Because when we unite, we have womb magic amplified. We can birth entire new realities together. And we can't do this alone. We need this mission with all of us together, united. Shoulder to shoulder, we amplify each other's magic. We amplify each other's power. There's nothing anyone can take away from us. We can just benefit by coming together as sisters. And then one more thing I want to dive into is that sovereignty is your quiet strength. It's the ability to stay in your truth without collapsing, attacking, or explaining. And that sums up beautifully this episode. And the last thing is that visibility becomes safe when we stop outsourcing our safety to others. And before we close this episode, I want to really invite you to take a breath, close your eyes, and place a hand on your throat. Really feel into your body. Take a moment to ground yourself, to connect to the earth, to your body, to send your energy down into your feet, to your hips, your lower belly, to soften your jaw, your shoulders, and your throat. And when you feel connected to your throat, to your voice, to your expression, I invite you to feel the part of you that still remembers dimming herself to be loved. Don't overthink it, just feel. Feel the part of you that learned to make herself small to avoid being judged. Feel the part of you that hid her beauty to make others comfortable. And really allow whatever wants to be shown to you. And now feel into the woman that you are becoming. The woman who is no longer afraid to be seen. The woman whose radiance is a gift, not a threat. The woman who stands in her truth without collapsing. The woman who knows her presence is sacred. Let this be the moment you return to your own visibility, to truly see yourself, your magic, your sensitivity, your power, your radiance, your sensuality, your softness, and really allow to feel safe in that in your body right now, to have the physical embodied experience of safety in your magnetism. Let this be the moment you come home to your magnetism, to your truth, to your natural state as a woman. You're not the bee chasing the flower, you are the flower whose nectar naturally attracts everything if you stop proving and stop chasing. Let this be the moment you stay. Let this be the moment you say, I'm safe in my radiance. I'm safe in my truth. I'm safe to be fully me. And you can stay here as long as you wish. And I see you next time.